All right. So thank you everybody for joining this training. My name is Bob Mwiti, and I'm the Programs Director of Abstract America. I'm also a senior IT consultant. Okay. And with me today, I have Paul DeBaca, who is a certified robotics process automation UiPath trainer. Okay, and our training is on robotics process automation, and this is on UiPath tool, right? And this is business analyst training course. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll hand over this training to Paul so that he can walk us through. Paul, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Hello, everyone. So, thanks, Bob, for the introduction. So, hi. This is Paul here. So, I'll be the trainer for your session on RPA, Business Analyst course on UiPath. So, and as rightly mentioned by Bob, so we expect this session to be pretty much interactive. Participation is one of the key thing. So we're going to learn the entire concept of business analysis on the RPA platform. And so before we get started, so sorry, I think if somebody is going to mute.
No. No, you mean.
All right, let me mute some of the people.
Okay, perfect.
All right, everybody is muted now.
Yep, sure. So probably you can put your question in the chat window, or you can park it aside. We can have a session of 10-15 minutes with all the questions once we are, done with the session for the day. But yeah, if you have anything that is, you want to ask, you can definitely stop and go back and ask again. Perfect. So before we kind of start off the session with any sort of information, so I just wanted to check with everyone here. So, I think I did ask Bob to just have a quick survey of, what are your, so everybody comes from what sort of background, or, with a career expertise, so that it becomes easy for us to kind of, map the course. So before we get started, so anybody here have heard or worked on the RPA platform, or anything specifically on the tool UiPath? Any prior expertise you have, or it's just a brand new name or a domain or something which you have stepped in very new and have no clue about it? I think we can go for a round table. Anyone from the participants, anything that you have heard about RPA, or you know about the platform RPA? What does it exactly mean? Exactly, or what sort of work that generally happens on an enterprise level on this domain? What is a kind of, so what are your expectation of a business analyst for RPA? So any open thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's Newton. I think from what I checked when I did the research, in that data processing faster, more than the human data processing, and that's it's more faster.
Okay.
It doesn't make a lot of mistakes, more than human errors, and it processes like the data at a faster speed, basically.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So you are. Yeah. Thanks for the answer. So yeah, you are quite a bit of correct. So let's get into the session. Okay. So first, I just wanted to give everyone an overview of the course that we are going to, go through. So coming 8 weeks, it will be an 8 weeks of UiPath RPA Business Analyst course program. So you're going to start with various modules here, and these are just the abstract names of each and every module. But yeah, we're going to have in detail subtopics inside under this, main topics. So we're going to start today, since it's the first session. So we're going to start today with the very basics, and right from the scratch, we're going to have an overview of the entire RPA platform. Okay, and then so our next module would be to understand the business analyst roles and responsibilities in RPA. And then subsequently, as we progress with the session 3 and on, so we're going to talk about opportunity assessment. How do we do an assessing a process complexity, performing automation quadrant derivation? How do we do a potential FTE calculation? So all these, contexts that we talk about are very much correlated with the business analyst role. Performing automation project technical feasibility study, overview of the entire UiPath tool platform, process deep dive assessment. We're going to understand of requirements gathering and creating the process design documents. Business analyst does take a great part in testing phase also in RPA. So we're going to look about the UAD planning, test scenarios, creation, and defect logs. We have something called this go live preparation phase. So when your project goes live, there's a lot of tasks that a business analyst have to undergo, starting from user manual creation to the change management. So we're going to look into that. We're going to always try to have real-time business use case discussions and assignments at the end of each and every module. And the final one, as Bob said, so we're going to have a mock interview for industry ready. And that will be at the very end of the course, after the 8 weeks of program. Okay. So session 1. So today under session 1, we have the very first module of the course. So we're going to have an understanding or an overview of robotic process automation, which is nothing but RPA. So now, since it's pretty much new into the market, and trust me, RPA is being predominantly into the market on an enterprise level, should be 2.5, 3 years maximum. But yeah, the invention has happened long back. Companies like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, they've been working in the back end for these are all startups that has come up and have grown to an enterprise level now. So, they would have started working 10 and a half, 11 years back just to kind of develop such tools, where you go ahead and, automate certain stuffs. Okay. So we're going to look right from the scratch today. So today's session will be mostly on RPA, and then tomorrow we're going to focus mostly on the business analysis of the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst, and then we move ahead. So as I was asking before I started, so what is exactly RPA is? Okay, so the acronym is pretty simple. It's a robotic process automation. And if we just divide the acronym, what does it stand for? So when you think of RPA and you want to say robotic process automation, it's just an acronym, but it's not the definition. In terms of understanding what RPA exactly is, what robotic process automation does, what we generally do on a layman term is we reverse the string. So we take it as APR. So we say it's an automation being done for process and being completed by robots. So that means we automate processes where tasks are getting completed by robot is what is the breakdown or the non-textbook definition that you can say that we have for RPA. So it's nothing but automating certain processes that runs on your company. Processes can be anything, okay? And we're gonna look around what sort of processes can those be, okay? So automation of processes by software robots. Now we generally, the human assumption of a robot is a physical robot, which works. But here on the context of an RPA, we always talk about robots, and these are software robots. And software robots are nothing but something that enacts what a human does. So if you look into an enterprise level, and when we say about automating process, so there'll be employees and people who will be working and performing their day-to-day task. Okay, so they work on processes. So I'm working in a company, you guys are working in companies. So once you go, you perform your task daily. So you go and involve yourself in multiple processes that goes around across your team, across your business organization, across your role, right? Now what RPA does is, so any process that comes in an enterprise level is nowadays being getting automated. So wherever companies or your organization is identifying that, we have a potential chance of automating certain process, and let we get rid of our employees of doing those tasks and let them focus on some higher end work. So this is where, RPA is getting into the market, and not into it, it's already got into the market, right? So when we look into the textbook definition of it, what does it actually? It says the application of technology that allows your company to set up computer software in the form of a robot. So that means software in the form of a robot is nothing but software robots to capture and interpret existing applications for transaction, processing, data manipulation, and communicate with other digital systems. So always remember one thing, and that's the very basic. So whatever software robots we develop on the RPA platform, okay, it is always able to capture and interpret with any of the existing application that your company has. So robots or software robots developed on the RPA platform always works on the application layer, on the top of the application layer. So whatever application you have, and to be honest, I haven't seen any application yet where any of the robot is not able to work. There might be complexity to develop on a certain application, but any robot developed would be able to perform or communicate with any of the application that your company has. Okay, and maybe there are certain challenges or difficulties that we have, and that might need to be analyzed, and then see how can we do things. But what does an RPA gives us is, we generally develop software robots that runs on the computer, okay, and has the capability to interact or capture information, perform transactions, deal with data, and communicate with other digital systems. Communicate with other digital system is nothing but your software robot developed would be able to talk to other applications. For example, you have Microsoft Excel and you have data in your Excel, right? So what we generally do, so we open up an Excel, we take the data, we do some reporting stuffs, and probably we send out an email with some reports, right? So we are having set of applications that are involved in the process. So we have Excel involved, we have Microsoft Outlook involved, or probably your Gmail involved, based on whatever mail application your company uses. So software robots are capable of interacting or dealing with each of these applications that you follow at every step of your process. So any software robot that we develop would be able to interact or generally can talk with the application and perform certain tasks, what exactly a human does, and complete the intent for what we have developed that robot. Okay, so now, so before we move ahead, and since it's just the first session, so I just wanted to take up some open questions to understand. Do we have any doubt on what is RPA or on the definition side? Any open questions? Yes, no?
Any questions, please?
So Paul, I have a quick question to make sure I understand. Basically, what you do, what RPA is you set up the software, and the RPA, I don't know if it's a robot, but it does the rest of the work, or it just does everything from point A to point B, or I didn't get that part clearly.
Sorry, if you could just repeat the question, and I think sound is coming a bit less. If you could just
raise your voice, Leah, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you said RPA, it kind of does the work for you in the example you gave for Microsoft Project, right?
Right.
Let's say you have a project and you're supposed to do the data manipulation, the transferring of data, or whatever the case is, the writing of panels. Does it do the work for you, or do you do some part and then it does the rest of the work?
Okay, I got the point. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So Let's say, yeah. So I think, yeah, once we move ahead, you would be getting much more bigger picture of the question. But yeah, just to answer for you right now. So actually, it depends on process to process. So that's why, when we understand the entire RPA platform, you get an idea of what sort of processes to select, what sort of processes gives. So I mean, what you wanted to ask is, does your robot that we create is able to complete the end-to-end transaction or data manipulation, or the end-to-end process, or we might have some human intervention in the middle, right? And if to answer that, so it actually depends on the process that you are currently working on, or the project that you have taken to automate. Okay, so any process which is much more on the complex side, and we have a lot of parameters and a lot of analysis that goes in to even identify a project, whether it's automation potential under the RPA platform. So this is why we just generally don't go by any textbook rule or any hard and fast rule that, hey, we have a process in my team, come, let's automate it. No, it doesn't work that way. So that's why all these entire business and these tools with multiple domain and multiple roles comes in. So there's a role of developer. There's I'm going to show you as well in the coming slides. What are the roles that are involved? How do we do it? What are the parameters that we analyze, and all those stuff. So I think eventually your question will be answered. Else we're going to take it back again at the end of the session. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to the next question. So first, after we have an idea of what is RPA, okay, both from a textbook definition and layman terms of definition, now we should know that why we are doing RPA. What is the reason that companies are so much into the RPA world that they're investing a lot of money to the robotics process automation platform? Now, the first question that comes in is, why RPA? And I think every one of us, been working on the IT industry, would have somehow or the other have heard of this term called digital transformation. Now, this is one such a buzzword that is spread like a viral, concept across. Like, we post a video in social media and it gets viral within like 1 minute. It reaches across the globe. Digital transformation is such a vital keyword that has spreaded like, at light speed across the enterprises globally. Now, what does digital transformation is about? So we are not going to look much into the digital transformation, but to understand why RPA, we have to look at a parent cause, which is actually digital transformation. Now, digital transformation is nothing but an entire cultural, or you can say statistical transformation or shift that all the big enterprises or multinational companies are trying to incorporate in today's business. So anything that you have which is running on your legacy computer, anything which you have which is non-digital, anything which you have is not providing you business insight, anything that you have is not giving you digital data, is considered as non-digital platform these days. So all the enterprises across the globe are currently focusing on one single thing, which is digital transformation. And digital transformation is having multiple aspects across. When a company is trying to say, hey, I am trying to incorporate digital transformation, or so digital transformation is actually being conceptualized as a journey that all the enterprises are going through nowadays, so that they become relevant, so that they prove their existence in the market. So all these big companies like IBM, almost you can say Google, Amazon, okay, Facebook, Apple, they are already into the digital transformation. But the enterprise or the service-based companies like IBM, Accenture, Infosys, Cognizant, so these are all service-based companies who have also started to incorporate digital transformation, and they take it as a journey wherein your organization goes under a digital shift. Okay, and digital shift happens when you incorporate new technologies. So we have old era technologies, we have new digital technologies, right? So if we talk about digital technologies, we have the concept of artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, ML, we have deep learning, DL, we have design thinking, okay? We have neural networking, we have natural language processing. All these concepts that have come into the market, right, comprises of your digital transformation with respect to new digital technologies, okay? And robotics process automation, or RPA, is one of the digitally triggered transformation platform. So that's why there's a buzzword of digital transformation, AI, ML, RPA getting so much of attention these days in the enterprise or the business world. Okay, so now be a part of the digital transformation and being able to prove the existence in the market. Companies are implementing RPA solution as one of their new technology inventions, right? So that's where RPA comes in, and we say, why RPA? Now, the first thing that companies are looking into when they say, and trust me, that when a company decides to implement RPA on an enterprise level, they have to invest a good amount of money. The money is not only the employees, because the first thing is they need skilled people to work. And I think trainings like this, where people are getting trained and accustomed and upskilling themselves. And trust me, in today's enterprise, I have seen in the last 2 to 3 years how drastically the enterprise has changed. Every 6 months, you have a new technology coming. Anything that you learn is getting upgraded in 2 to 3 months, right? So upskilling is one of the only way where we can keep ourselves relevant in today's enterprise world, right? So now when companies start investing on RPA, the thing is, first they look into whether they have skilled labor or they have skilled people to do it, okay? And the next is they really have to invest a lot on the entire RPA platform, because these licenses that they buy for all these tools are very costly, okay? And also you need to have your entire technical infrastructure to implement your RPA. So that's why the first thing that companies look on is the first point. You can see with a dollar symbol, do you have ROI, rapid ROI, which is nothing but rapid return on investment. So suppose company is investing $10 million on entire RPA platform, right? Now the first thing that they would analyze before going to RPA, implementing RPA, is how much return on investment do I get? And trust me, business analysts take a huge role along with the management to identify such stuff. Now, return on investment is nothing but, if I'm investing $10 million on RPA, what is the benefit that I'm going to get? How many processes I'm going to automate? How many FTE benefit I'm going to get? FTE is nothing but full-time execution. It's like if an employee is working for 8 hours and I'm automating a task that an employee is doing, what percentage of FTE benefit or what percentage of work I'm automating for that employee, and I can get him utilized for some other work. So all these things comes into picture, and does really RPA, eventually provides a huge return on investment for companies. That's why they start investing on RPA. Next is enhanced processes. Now, enhanced processes are nothing but, so when you try to take a process into the RPA, your process might not be feasible at times. So what companies does is they are now going ahead and enhancing their process, which are not RPA or automation feasible, so that they can bring that process back to the RPA platform. So that means any process that was having old or legacy stuffs, they're eliminating and trying to enhance it, which is eventually, working in a better customer experience for them. So when you are serving your clients, you are following a repeated process again and again, you don't expect a good customer experience. But yes, when you are implementing a process in an RPA and you are enhancing your process, that means you are removing out a lot of unwanted and burden stuffs. That means you will have a redefined process where you would be able to serve your clients better. So that's where your better customer experience comes into picture. The fourth point is eliminate repetitive work. Now, for example, as I said that we automate process. Now, what does a process stand for here, right? So it can be anything. So any work that is being done repeatedly, okay, by an employee in an organization or any team or anything that in an enterprise level is done repetitively is being automated these days. So repetition of work is getting eliminated so that we don't do the same task again and again for 8 to 7 hours of our working hours every day. This is another benefit. Improved service delivery. So eventually when you have return on investment, you have an enhanced process and you have better customer experience and your employees are not repeatedly doing the same task, you obviously intend or tend to provide a better service delivery to the customer. Enhanced ability to manage. So when you have your robots performing your task and you have your humans which are not doing anything repetitive, and you have a combination, and currently they call this as a human robot orchestration. That's actually a new term that has come into the market. So, and there are a lot of tools that are coming into the market which enables you to monitor how much your human is performing, how much is your robot performing, and then you manage and combine the ability. So that's where your enhancement or your ability to manage comes in. Okay, cost reduction. So whenever you have an rapid ROI, the main thing that the company is looking into is, hey, do I reduce the cost? If you have, for example, you have 10 people working on a process, okay, and they are doing a lot of tasks every day. So when we automate a process and when this process gets automated, so the entire work of these 10 people is being now done by a software robot. So eventually we are having an FTE benefit here. And we're going to see what is FTE benefit and all the stuff later. Okay, I'm just trying to give you a picture of what's happening. So we always are trying to utilize the time. So 10 people working on a process, probably say for 5 hours a day. So 10 into 5, 50 hours of work we are automating. So definitely we are having a headcount benefit. So we are eliminating those tasks of those people by a robot. And then we can say, hey, you guys go and work on something else. So definitely when we have an FTE benefit, we have a cost reduction. Okay, and then we say non-invasive technology. So RPA, the benefit of RPA is, it's scalable. Okay, you have one process you have one robot which is currently doing or automated to perform 2 processes. You can scale it to 10 robots, 20 robots, 15 robots, okay, performing automating 10 processes, 100 transactions, 200 transactions, 300 transactions, working every minute, every hour. So it's a non-invasive because it's scalable to a huge extent based on your enterprise level. So generally RPA or robots are not something which you can look on an individual confront, because you cannot have an RPA set up for yourself unless and until you are a firm or if you are an organization, because you do need a very good amount of investment. And obviously, unless and until you have a lot of people who are doing repetitive tasks, a lot of people who are working on the same task, you have a lot of processes. Okay, you don't have to. So if you are working as an individual, you don't need a robot because you are self-sufficient in your task, your process, your activities are not that much huge. I mean, if it's of huge volume, obviously you can automate something for yourself as well. There's no harm in doing it. But on an implementation side, when we talk, it's majorly for the enterprise level. And then we have some small benefits like increased compliance. So that means when a human is doing and a robot is doing the same task, which is eventually a machine, so the execution time would eventually be higher, right? So if I as an individual is working on 10 processes and I take an hour of time, when a robot is doing it or I'm automating something which is programmed, eventually the 10 processes being consumed for an hour by me would be probably completed within 20 minutes by a software robot. So where we have increased compliance, I'm able to meet my deadlines, SLAs and everything. And I already spoke about scalability and flexibility, right? So how do we scale it? And then insights and analytics. Now, data analytics has become a very, very important tool or aspect in today's business. The more you have data, and data is everything today, right? The more your business has data, the more you go for analysis, the more you have your business predictions better. So all these robots that are working is much more capable of giving you analytical view as well of how much processing is happening on your company, how much transactions is your robots processed, how much transaction your human used to process, how much time does your human or your employees took, and how much time does a robot take. So all this data, the moment you have, you go and analysis. So you have a better prediction or better insight of the entire process or the entire business view of your company. So this is why all these 7 to 8 benefits or advantages that we have of RPA, and this is the reason why these days companies are getting into the RPA platform. So now, having said what is RPA and why RPA, now let's say, how do we identify an RPA potential process? So that means, as someone was asking the question, that do we do an end-to-end or we need a human intervention? Now, it's all depends upon how is your process, okay? What sort of project you are undertaking to automate eventually, right? So we have certain basic thumb rules or checklist that is followed as an industry standard. It's nothing like hard and fast rule. There's nothing hard and fast. It's like an industry best practice. And there will be always exceptions to processes where this might not be applicable, but still you see that those processes can be automated. So these are on a majority across the industry, okay? How do we identify an RPA potential process? So you might be working in a company as a business analyst, for example, okay? And as you have joined this course, you would be having an intention, hey, I'm learning about robotics process automation. I'm working as a business analyst in my organization. So since I'm upskilling myself, why I don't go and identify processes that can be, given as an idea of automation. And that means you are creating a better experience, or you have gone ahead of your normal day-to-day work or roles and responsibilities. You can go and approach your management, hey, I have learned this, and then I have seen that this many processes are like this in my team. So why don't we automate those processes and get this sort of benefits? So you yourself would be eligible or much more capable to do an end-to-end analysis and make a big approach. So that's where differences are coming in across the industry. The only thing people are upskilling and getting to know is to implement somewhere, right? And whatever we are learning, unless and until we implement that on a day-to-day life, I mean, you don't get the 100%. So whatever training you take online or through books, you will always have 70 to 80% or 60% of your learning. The remaining 40% you can learn only when you have a hands-on or you implement. Because when you try to implement something, work on something on a real-time basis, trust me, you will have n number of challenges. And to overcome those challenges with the solution is what makes 100% complete. So even when I started on RPA, we had such challenges which we have never thought of, and to identify those challenges and then solutioning it took a decent amount of time. Okay, so now let's say, what are the thumb rules or what are the identification process of an RPA potential analysis? The first thing is any process that is rule-based. Okay. Now, eventually, when you are working in a process functionally, your process will always be rule-based. For example, let's say you are working as a reporting analyst and you perform a reporting process end-to-end daily. So, for example, you have a lot of applications in your organization. You log into the application, you download a lot of files, Excel files. You do a lot of data filtering, and you generate reports out of it. And then you send emails to multiple people based on the data that you have on an everyday basis. Now this end-to-end process, okay, is eventually based on certain rule. That means if I break down that process, I have to first log into an application, I have to download the reports, I have to have the Excel files with me, I have to open them in Microsoft Excel, I have to do some data filtering, and then I generate the reports, and then I send out emails to the required participants. So that means that entire process I have broken it down into 7 to 8 activities. Okay. Now in RPA, when we try to automate a process, eventually we break the entire process into activities. Now, if you see that my end-to-end activity is eventually is based on a rule. That means I have to log into an application to download the report. Now, once I have the report, I have to eventually have Microsoft Excel. To have Excel, I should know how the data are filtered, and there should be a rule, or my process should define me how the filtering is going to be, which is again a rule based. Once I have the data filtered, I'm going to send out to multiple people. So if it's a business, if it's a financial report, I have to send it to the finance team. If it's a technical report, I have to send it to the technical team. If it's a manufacturing report, I have to send it to the manufacturing team. So that means my sending out of reports is also rule based. So based on what sort of reporting I have, filtering I have done, that specific report, I need to send it to the specific team. So that means the entire process you can see is sequentially following certain rule, right? So those processes does fit to be a potential automation potential in the RPA platform. So any process that is rule based, okay, can be potentially automated in RPA. First thing. Second thing is digital triggered initiated process supported by digital data. Now, since we are talking about the software robots or robots, those are softwares, that means it's eventually going to work on your computer, right? And unless and until you have your data, which is digital, you cannot have something automated. Now, if you have, for example, instances where you have financial invoices that is coming to your company and that is coming as is hard copy, in papers, you cannot have a software robot which can go and read your hard copies, right? So if you want to say, hey, I want to automate a process where my companies are receiving hard copies of invoices or data, and I expect my bot to go and process that, that's eventually something which is not practical. So that means only when your data is triggered digitally. Now let's say, but yeah, we can eventually automate the process of reading an invoice, which is I'm having a hard copy. That means what I need to do, I need to do an extra step. So I should have some technology where I'm scanning those documents of hard copies and converting them into a soft copy. Now, the moment I have my data in a soft copy, it's digitally triggered. That means after that, I can have software robots and tools like UiPath and other tools of RPA are capable of reading documents which are soft copies. So we have technologies called OCR, which is nothing but optical character recognition and other stuffs, where robots are capable of reading data from a handwritten script. So suppose your invoice that is coming to you is handwritten, okay? And you have scanned the copy. Now you have it in your email as a scanned copy. Now you expect a robot to go and read the data and extract the data from you. So there are technologies that is coming into the market where your robots are capable of extracting the data from your handwritten soft copies. So that means anything where my process has the data triggered digitally, I have a chance of automating it. That's the thumb rule 2. Now the thumb rule 3 is functioning and stable process. That means, so let's say you are working on a process every day and your process criteria changes every month. If you develop a robot for a process where your process criteria changes every month, then when we talk about rapid return on investment, or when we talk about the benefits of return on investment or enhancing the process, okay, your RPA or your robot, it's not automation potential. So you should always have a process which is functional and stable. That means your process that you're automating is not changing at least for a duration of 6-7 months. Okay, now if you are automating, so as a business analyst, you have taken a process and you have given it to your developer to automate, where you identify that your process is changing every month. Okay, for example, okay, you have a process of reporting where your reporting criteria are changing based on client. Okay, so first month, at the starting of the month, you filter or you have a reporting criteria of, let's say, any SLA which is of 10 days. But at the end of the month, the SLA criteria is changing. Now, if you have developed a robot just to identify your SLA criteria, so every month your SLA criteria is changing. So either you have to develop your robot dynamically so that it is able to incorporate those process changes. Else, if your process is changing 80 to 70%, 70 to 80% of your process is changing every month, which is not stable. You don't have the potentiality of developing it in an RPA platform, because a robot developed would eventually follow a rule or a process. But wherein your process changes 70 to 80%, you cannot have a bot which is working only on the remaining 30%. Okay. So next, anything is high volume. So for example, you are processing transactions, okay, through some application like 2,000 transactions in a day, and you are taking 6 to 7 hours to process 2,000 transactions, which is huge in volume. So why don't we automate something which is being processed or transactionally processed to such a huge volume, 2,000 transactions in a day? That means, obviously, if you are working on 2,000 transactions in a day, you have repetition of work. And your repetition of work eventually makes that process to be automation potential. So I think, yeah, I have given a lot of analysis on why RPA and why is RPA. I just want to come back to some questioning sessions now, and I think it's becoming pretty silent. So till now, I mean, do you guys have any sort of questions that you want to ask? And I think we have now understood what is RPA and why do companies take RPA, and the 4 thumb rules that we see, what makes us identify an RPA potential process. So now let's come up with some questions. Yes.
So Paul, within business enterprise, right? Because they have like different processes, right? So we can use RPA technology for any process as long as it meets one of these 4 criteria, right?
Absolutely. It's not one of these. It should be kind of a combination of these checklists.
Okay, it should be a combination of all these. Okay.
Correct. So you have a process which is rule-based, which is digital, and you don't have and your process is not stable. Then why don't you, if your process is not stable, your RPA COE is going to come and say, hey, you have suggested a process which is not stable. Why do I want my team developers to go, or my solution architects to go and invest their time to automate a process which is changing 70 to 80% every 2 months? So you have a process which is rule-based, digitally triggered, and high volume, but not stable. It's not potential then. Your RPA COE or your management, whoever is at the top of your ladder is maintaining, or your project managers is not going to approve it. Now again, you have something which is rule-based, you have something which is stable, which is high volume, but not digitally triggered. So that means you have hard copies of your invoice, but you have some rule of processing it. It is stable and it is of high volume. You're receiving 2,000 documents of invoices every day, but nothing digital. Again, it's not automation potential. So you have your data digitally triggered. It's functional and stable, high volume, but there is no rule. Every day you are logging into some other application, you are doing some abrupt things to generate a report. Your process is not defined or is not rule-based. So you have digital data, you have a process which is like stable, doesn't change, but you are not doing anything in a specific rule, and you are doing something in a high volume. So unless and until it is rule-based, you cannot divide your process in a set of activities, as I was explaining, that for a reporting, you log in, you download, you open Excel, you filter out, you send out emails. Now to send out emails, you again see what sort of filtering you have used. If it's a manufacturing data, I send it to manufacturing team. If it's a data for payroll, I send it to the payroll. So it's all rule-based, right? So any combination, so mostly it should be under this 4 checklist, then it becomes eventually easy to analyze. So anything that falls within 4, and if you have a process which is, you know, tick marked in green for all these 4 checkboxes, I mean, it becomes easy for you to understand. I mean, as a business analyst, as your role would be to identify processes in your company which can be automated. Now, when you go and identify process on such a checklist, you have a very less, and I said, you know, these are thumb rules or, you know, best practices. There might be situational cases where, you know, you might be able to automate something which is out of this. So it's always an exceptions are applicable, right? But yeah, anything that falls within this 4 and you have these 4 checkboxes ticked, definitely your process is 95% automatable. And somebody coming to challenge, hey, on what basis you have taken this process for automation? Go and show them this. Hey, this is the thumb rule that we follow for RPA, and I see this process is following up all these 4 thumb rules. Then what's the problem? So I mean, you are able to justify your idea, thought process for an automation project.
I got you. Now, is it safe to say that business analysts who are RPA, business analysts, is their work also to identify these processes that are RPA potential? Is that part of their job, or they'll come into the picture now when the client has decided, okay, they are going to, you know, automate the processes, and then now they bring the, you know, the RPA business analyst and they implement the project. Where do RPA business analysts begin?
Stand.
Do they follow all this?
Okay, perfect. That's a good question, Bob. So I can explain you in the subsequent slides. I have this, you know, in 2 of the slides explaining. So when we decide, or when we talk about the RPA framework, okay, we understand what are the business analyst falls in, where do we fall in, and what are our roles and responsibilities. And yes, just to you know, in a nutshell, to answer your question, that all depends on how is your RPA framework designed. Okay, so if your clients are much more obsessed and they are the authority people or authorized people to identify processes, okay, then your business analyst role, I mean, as a business analyst, you might not have much stake, wherein your client would be the authorized person who would come and give projects to your company. And your company would only involve you to go and analyze those processes or ideas which are given by the client. But when you are working internally for your company on a core internal process or operations team as a business analyst, and it's all up to how is your role exposed in your organization. So some business analyst works on improving process. People who are, you know, Six Sigma black belt, you know, Six Sigma green belt business analyst, okay, they work on quality improvement and process improvement. So their roles and responsibility comes on identifying processes from entire process of your organization and do a bit of analysis to see whether these are automatable under RPA platform. So when they work on a quality improvement or a process improvement business analyst role, yes, that comes in where you are identifying your process. But yes, if your role is, if you're working for a client and the authority is with the client to come and give you processes and then you go and do an analysis, then yeah, then you might not be able to work, then you might not be working on identifying right from the root. But yeah, you might be getting involved at a certain level when your ideas have been given and then you are asked to implement or analyze.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to the next slide. Yeah. So now let's say, now we should understand that where do the enterprises are eventually exploring the RPA or robots? What are the platforms that the robots are implemented in? Or what are the enterprise platforms where we are eventually implementing software robots, right? So now, having said that we know what is RPA, why RPA, what are the checklist of RPA, now we should know that where we can implement RPA. Where do enterprises are eventually exploring RPA. So this diagram is all about the exploring or RPA domain. So if you see at the very core of the diagram and the circle in orange, it says it's eventually refers to the RPA platform. Now, having said that, a circle of eventual activities or domains or applications in green. So an RPA platform is is generally implemented on a process that deals with so many applications. If you have your processes involved with emails, words, Excel, Java, charts, Citrix. Citrix is nothing but one kind of application, VDI, which is virtual desktop interface. So which is like, when we're trying to access something remotely, we go for a VDI concept, and these are certain applications. ERP, as I think Bob said, enterprise resource planning, we have a lot of ERP tools where even RPA or software robots are getting implemented. So we have an RPA platform, and we have this chain of applications to which RPA platform can be implemented. Anything with respect to your email automation, your Word, your Excel automation, anything with Java, anything with VB, any chart, your automation, your processes like you are creating pie charts, bar graphs based on your business data, your RPA automation is applicable. You have your Citrix where you are talking or interacting with the non-persistent VDI, where you have a lot of virtual desktops and infrastructure in your company. You want to automate, it's possible. You want to automate something on the ERP platform, again, it's possible. Now, all these applications are spreaded across various domains of the industry. So RPA is being incorporated by industries who are in the manufacturing, by the government, by the healthcare industry, by the telecommunication, obviously technology and software companies, and also by the finance and the banking companies. And trust me, apart from technology and software companies, where we see 80 to 90% of the RPA getting implemented, financial companies and manufacturing companies and healthcare are the ones which are being head-to-head nowadays in terms of implementing RPA, apart from your technology or your product-based or your typical IT companies. Financial banks, I have seen a lot of people getting hired in banks for RPA, in the manufacturing industry, in healthcare, for banks processing or dealing with your data, your invoices and everything. A lot of RPA implementations are happening which are being automated. In healthcare, a lot of stuffs, internal operations are getting automated. So RPA is not confined to only one single domain or industry. It's widely spread across all sectors of the business across the globe. Now let's say, having said the industries, okay, and as we already spoke about the benefits, okay, so you might be seeing some on the orange colored diagrams. The first one says, takes over repetitive tasks that employees carry out 50 to 60 times a day. As we already know that we are eliminating repetitive tasks. Periodic reporting, data entry and data analysis. So anything that we are trying to report on a periodic basis, any data entry work, any data analysis work, RPA is suitable. Mass email generation, archiving and abstracting. I said, you are sending out 30, 40 emails every day based on your report. RPA is the solution for you. Okay, you have your ERP transactions being implemented, 2,000, 3,000 transactions per day being done. RPA is your answer. Conversion of data formats and graphics. You are dealing with a lot of files, datas, formats of datas. Like if you see Excel, we have multiple formats of data Excel. Excel in data in Excel. We have Excel of XLSX file, we have .csv file, we have .xlsm file, lot of variations within Excel. If you want to deal with multiple variations, your RPA is the answer. So these are the various areas across multiple domains of businesses or in the industry. And these are the various tasks across all the sectors of applications that are being used where RPA is the solution. Okay. So before we move ahead, any further questions?
Yes, Paul, I have a question. This is Bob again. Now, you said this is it's a relatively new technology, 2-3 years. That's when the, companies now started really implementing this, right? But although it was still there before, but my question is, I mean, as the technology improves and all that, because we are still in the infant age, right? Like still, it's growing. But let's say, for example, 10 years down the line, do you think like implementing this kind of technology to a business enterprise, would it take less? I mean, would it cost less because the technology is getting better? Or is there a point, I mean, is it gonna go up, or can you give us like shed some light on this? Because this is something probably maybe some of the students may want to know. How is the future for this? It's gonna cost more to clients implementing, or it's gonna cost less?
Okay, so on a market analysis that I have done, and I've gone through a lot of journals and a lot of publishers published blogs on RPA. See, I would not say that the current scenario is we are at the infant stage. We have come across it actually. So 7-8 years down the line, before we go back 2010, 2009, 2010, 2011, we did not have that much flourishment of the RPA domains or all these RPA tools. But now, having in the last three and a half years, I mean, to an extent, these tools have become much more stable. And now from here, the journey of the RPA 10 years down the line would be much more enhanced and improvised. Now, why I'm saying this is, now RPA being a platform or a new technology on this digital era or their digital transformation, along with your artificial intelligence, your machine learning, your design thinking, your neural language processing, all these new technologies are actually getting embedded or integrated within RPA. Now, UiPath is coming up with another enhanced version in the upcoming release with something called as computer vision, and which is already been into the, I mean, they have already implemented it within RPA, and they have given that's those what I can say, those pieces of those new versions of the software to various companies for testing and getting feedback. They're running it as a beta version. Nothing have so. Computer vision is actually one of the AI-based methodology where you are implementing a lot of inbuilt AI technologies, okay, where your lot of machine learning algorithms are getting implemented, wherein your software robots could be intelligent enough to go and perform much more high-end tasks. As I gave you one example, that if you have an invoice which is handwritten and and being scanned and given and converted as a digital data, right now, and I said that this is automation potential where your bots are able to read or recognize invoices which are handwritten. Now let's imagine how different can be in human handwritings. Do you have any specific number of patterns? No, right? We have n number of different types of human handwritings, n number of different types or different ways how an individual writes. The way I write an A in lowercase, I write a B in lowercase might be very much different when we are trying to do a recognition when you are writing it. So when a robot is able to read a handwritten invoice, irrespective of how you have written it, imagine the number of patterns or algorithms or analysis it would have gone in the back end to recognize that you have written, my name is Paul. For example, in the invoice, or I have a handwritten document which is written as my name is Paul. Now, you can write it in a different way. I can write it in a different way. Somebody else would write it in a different way. Now, all these three invoices, when I scan and put it back as a hard soft copy, and then I design a bot, hey, go and read this and give me the output, what's written there. So imagine how many pattern analysis would have been done at the back end. You are doing it just at the right, at the tip of a click. But the back-end research work, algorithm analysis, the pattern analysis that is going on, this is all coming as machine learning algorithms. These are all pattern analysis that is being embedded. And you are just doing it at the tip of your fingertips. You're just clicking a mouse and saying, hey, this is the document, go and read it and give me the output. But imagine when the bot goes and reads it with the technology called computer vision or something, any AI and ML, imagine the number of analysis they could do at the back end. It happens in a fraction of a second. Imagine the number of patterns it would analyze at the back end to detect, hey, you have written it as A, you have written this as B, you have written this as P, right? So these are all a level of analysis that is being embedded, and the work and the technology is immense. So 10 years down the line, your RPA would be much more enhanced with AI and ML integration, where much more high-end tasks would be, very easy to be getting done with your software robots and just at the tip of your finger with tools like UiPath and other softwares that are coming into the market. And you have to widen your perspective. So the more you upskill yourself, okay, and keep yourself relevant, and you know that what's happening in the market, and you are upskilling yourself, you will never be obsolete. Else, trust me, across the globe, the way companies are changing, skills are becoming obsolete every now and then. So imagine when Microsoft Office generated MS Excel, how many people have learned Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, MS Word, Microsoft Word? How many people, Microsoft Excel became bread and butter for millions of people who are working as reporting analysts, which they used to do manually. Now, there was a technology change, there was an evolution that have happened. Now, from analog analysis of calculation, Microsoft Excel came as a software which was, a dream come true for people who were working on reporting. Then came macros, then came traditional automation, and your entire reporting world was changed. Now, 20, 30 years down the line, you have concepts coming as RPA, AI and ML integration, where your Excel work is nothing being done manually. Everything is now being automated. So imagine the number of evolution that has been happening. Okay, so I'll come back to that question. Yeah, I see that about Power BI. So this is how. So 10 years down the line, your RPA will not be the RPA you see now. It will be much more enhanced. So you also have to grow. You have to also upskill yourself. And on an implementation side, and I think costing wise, it will be quite similar, or it might increase. I don't see a chance that it's going to decrease. But yes, the way you are using it, it's going to be minimized. For example, let's say when you talk about cloud infrastructure nowadays, right? There are various ways we can acquire a cloud infrastructure. Now, companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Azure, Google Cloud, they're having multiple schemes for you. You don't have to hire an entire cloud infrastructure. If you're a small company, you can go and pay per usage, pay per hour, pay per data transfer, okay, pay per click. So all these small concepts are coming where, you just take the plan based on your need. So might be something would come up where you can go and use, you go and pay per bot, pay per implementation, pay per license. I don't know. I mean, these are all the predictions. So this is where it is heading.
Yeah.
So I think that this answers your question.
Good. So I think those who don't have like really good skills, like those who use, like for example, people who enter invoices on a day-to-day basis, then those people should be worried because those jobs are gonna go away.
Trust me, yes. People who are doing data entry work these days, and you must be aware, companies like Accenture, IBM, they are doing they are chucking out a lot of people. I mean, workforce reduction is happening globally. And this is like, one of the parameters where people with old skills, company is saying, hey, why you want to pay me with something which you have is not executable or is not of matching my current demand. So imagine, that's what I said. FTE benefit is nothing but headcount release. So if you have 20 people working on a process, if I'm automating with one bot And for example, my one bot license is costing me around $20,000. If I'm investing $20,000, I should, or $30,000, I should get a return on investment, right? And this is how FT benefit comes in with your analysis of ROI, and you get rid of 20 people because your one bot is able to do the task of 20 people.
Now, Paul, just to piggyback on that. Now, as a client, right, you're implementing RPA, right? You are definitely going to lay off people. How do you justify this to the end users? Because these guys, they have to work with, you know, the RPA analysts and you guys, like, you know, developers, RPA developers, to make the project, you know, succeed. But see, if you're dealing with, you're implementing a project where I know at the end of the, if this project is successful, I'm going to lose my job. How do you justify this to the end user who is being affected by what you are trying to implement, and yet they have to participate in your project to make it, you know, successful?
That's a question, you know. I mean, that's like disheartening, you know. And trust me, these are the real scenarios that I have faced. So anyone that you take in today's world who has started to work on RPA from the scratch as a transition have eventually faced the question that you have asked. Okay, and I have been to a lot of, you know, RPA conferences and a lot of, you know, developers meet, and a lot of you know, lot of events where the first challenge that any RPA company talks about is what you have asked right now. So always there is a sense. So when you are implementing RPA and you are automating something, you know that your company is kind of automating something which you are doing. It's like snatching your bread and butter. But as a process expert, you have to be engaged. You don't have an option. I mean, so what does now it's actually eventually up to companies how to deal with. I have seen certain companies who deal with much polite way. So what they do is they involve people to automate certain lower end tasks they do, and they try to help the people to upscale and then go back and do some higher end task. Or suppose your process or your work for 10 clients are automated, which I am doing. Now after this is done by robot, I'm moving back and I'm handling 3 or 4 new clients. And I'm working for certain other new clients, and then that means I'm eventually being reoccupied or reutilized. So this is how, you know, multiple companies deal with. Some companies chuck out people. I mean, they say, hey, that's all you have to do. I mean, it's all up to your company and how they are doing it. But yes, the main challenge that, you know, when you start RPA from the transition is a very much called as cultural or a mindset problem. Okay, you don't get that much support. You don't get that much of, you know, how do I say? I mean, you don't get that much of interest from people when they have a sense of fear, okay? That, you know, this is probably going to be something which, you know, is like your work is at stake. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. I mean, the only way to see that's where companies are now investing a lot on their people. And the only way, you can go and read a lot of blogs about this digital transformation, how many jobs are going out, how the skills are becoming obsolete. The only way to survive is to upskill, learn new technologies, learn new stuffs. And it's not about you have to learn new technology. There are multiple roles that are involved with new technologies that are coming in. You, based on your skill set, your expertise, what is your interest, go and upskill. It's not that you have to always hard code or learn programming. There are a lot of other, you know, functional advanced roles that are also coming up. Like business analyst, typically, if you look into any, you know, 2-3 years down the line, business analyst works on quality process improvements. But now business analyst being incorporated in RPA, where they identify processes which are automation potential. So eventually your role has enhanced. So as the market is progressing and it's growing deep and much more advanced, everything is changing. So you have to be a part of the change. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why also you're having these kind of trainings that don't really require any programming, so that anyone out there can be able to do something like this. Now, I'll read some of the something from those who are watching this. There's someone who is asking, how is RPA different from Power BI?
Okay, now Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, okay, these are all data analytical or data visualization or dashboard tools. So what does Power BI do? I mean, you have your data sets, you have your data available, you have your database. So Power BI gives you the interface to connect your data and convert your data into a graphical or a graphical visualization. So you can develop your charts, you can develop your graphs, you can segregate your data in terms of visual representation. So that's what is your Power BI, your ClickView application, your Tableau applications are used for. These are all data visualization or analytical tools, okay? Whereas RPA is actually, as I said, okay? So RPA is where your processes are getting automated. So you have your process, which is like rule-based, end-to-end, high volume, high transaction, repetitive. So what we do, we go ahead and automate those processes. So yeah, eventually there is a chance that, you know, your process might involve, okay, that at the end, I said, like when we spoke about why RPA, there was the last column, it says insight and analytics. That means I want to understand my entire business, I need data analytics, right? And I need the insight of the data in a graphical representation. So there are a lot of integrations are also happening with tools like Tableau, ClickView, Power BI, and these are being embedded within RPA platform, wherein once you have your data generated by the bot, integration of those platforms or tools within RPA helps you to generate your dashboards, helps you to generate your data insights. Okay, so the major difference is RPA is not only confined with your data visualization or data representation, whereas Power BI is a tool which is only for data visualization or data representation.
All right, thank you. There is someone saying an example. Amazon this week announced that it's going to train their associates some robotics instead of retrenching them. Okay, I think he's confirming the previous discussion that you had. And then Newton is saying, who is the largest market consumer of RPA?
Correct, and this is going to be there.
Out there. Who is implementing this?
Okay, yep, this is going to be there in my next slide. Okay,
All right.
This is all about the trending RPA tools into the market. Now, eventually, see, whenever you have something new, you are not the one, or I'm not the one who is developing it. Similarly happened to all these companies. So when RPA came, it's not only one or two companies who are working on it and developing products. There are like 10, 15 companies who have started to work on RPA platform and develop their own softwares and tools. So the left-hand side and the right-hand side are the two survey diagrams. The first one, so it's like the trending RPA tools in the market. So the first one on the left-hand side is a Forrester Wave survey, which shows you the top trending RPA tools or the companies who are the leaders in the RPA platform today. And the right-hand side is the Gartner Magic Quadrant for RPA, where again, it shows who are the leaders or which are the top tools in the market and having a great buzz across the globe. So the first one on the left-hand side, you see that the Forrester, and whenever you are doing certain analysis, Forrester and Gartner are the ones which are considered as one of the, you know, most important and vital and is being ranked very much high in terms of analysis. So the left-hand side Forrester survey says that in terms, if you see that the quadrant has four quadrants for each of the graphs, okay? The Forrester has, you know, I could say like pie graphs, where it says the first quadrant is leader, strong performer, contender, and the last quadrant is challenger. Whereas Gartner has 4 quadrants, starts with the topmost right, leader, challenger, and then, you know, players, and then visionaries. Okay, these are all different parameters that they choose. Now, the one common thing that you see on the Forrester and the Gartner is if you look into the leaders quadrant, okay, on the left-hand side, the first thing is UiPath. UiPath has been rated as the topmost market RPA tool by Forrester and Gartner and many other governing bodies for the last 2.5 years. Okay. The second in the queue is another RPA tool called as Automation Anywhere, and the third in the queue is Blue Prism. And even if you look onto the right hand side, which says the Gartner review, which is the magic quadrant of RPA tools, and on the right hand side top we have the leaders quadrant. You see the three names there only. UiPath is again rated number 1. And if you could see the evolution here, so the left hand side is a Q2 analysis for the year 2018, whereas the right hand side Gartner quadrant is actually May 2019 release of Gartner's magic quadrant of the top 3 RPA tools in the market. So the first one is UiPath, the second is Blue Prism, and the third is Automation Anywhere. So these 3 RPA tools are like head to head. These 3 companies are giving a tough competition to each other in the present RPA world, wherein UiPath has succeeded or have managed to take the top spot for last 2.5 years, I think, where Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism are fighting with each other. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of aspects why UiPath is kind of at the top, okay? And we have some sort of thing that's coming up where I'm gonna, tell you guys to do so that you get an understanding. So our training course is eventually on the business analysis of RPA. In UiPath, you can say as a specialization, but if you are understanding the concept and getting trained as a business analyst in RPA, in UiPath as a specialization, I hope, and that's my, based on my experience, you'll be also able to work on RPA business analyst in Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere as well, because the concept, the platform is all same. It's just that the tools are different, okay? And tools are different by that I mean to say that some company might be using Automation Anywhere, some company might be using UiPath, some company might be using Blue Prism, okay? But eventually, all these 3 top tools run on the same concept, same RPA platform, same criteria. It's just that they have their own differences, okay? So we would target the...
So sorry to cut you. So someone should not really worry just for knowing just UiPath and not knowing the other Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism, right? With UiPath and your business analyst in that, then you should be able to implement anything else out there.
Right. So since we are into the business analysis, we will be dealing with solving business problems with RPA. And here we would be focused and take a specialization on UiPath best practices, but that's not going to stop you to work as a business analyst in Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere. Since we will not be focusing on development, where you have a hardcore technical programming knowledge on the tool and hands-on, that's where your training becomes more specific. Then if somebody is undergoing a developer's training in UiPath, it's not that he cannot develop in Automation Anywhere. He or she can develop in Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism, but the interface or the coding logics, that's all they need to understand. But the concept would be same. So when companies are hiring for robotics process automation consultant, they say, hey, you are working on UiPath, that's fine, but do you know Automation Anywhere as well? So I mean, it's all of these three tools prevailing in the market are correlated. So working on the one gives you some sort of an exposure about the other as well. So if you look into the other tools that are into the market and like they are still in the challengers quadrant or they are trying to still evolve as an RPA company in the world are like Kofax, NICE, Pegasystems, WorkFusion, Automation Anywhere, NTT, Datamatics, Help Systems, Redwood Softwares, Another Monday. These are all other small companies who are trying to boom or come up into the market of RPA. But the leaders are three into the global market these days. RPA market leaders UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism, whereas UiPath is holding the #1 position. So that's why we aim to take a specialization on UiPath because it's the #1 ranked tool, and we then push ourselves to go and work in other tools if we get a chance. So that's how it is.
Good.
Okay, so any open questions till now?
There's another question from Jared. He says, with RPA, are we gonna be working with software coding or a combination of software and hardware?
Okay, so there are various aspects where we go ahead and implement RPA. Okay, obviously as a platform and you see it's a software, you need a hardware to implement, but generally we don't deal with hardwares in RPA. It's all related to software. That's why we say that these robots are all software robots. It's nothing gonna be gigantic physical robots that we're gonna develop. It's all software robots that works on the computer with your operating system and just enacts the human action. So whatever humans are designed or asked to do as a part of their process, the robots are similar in a similar fashion designed to go and perform the end-to-end task just like a human does.
Good. Any other question from the audience before we proceed? Okay, you can proceed, and then maybe I'll get a few more questions as we move along.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm gonna kind of discuss certain things. So I think we have to keep a 5-10 minute session for the and Q&A as well. Yep, so I think we are getting into the top of that. So, okay, so next thing we're going to understand or talk about is RPA pipeline management process. Now, when we talk about RPA and your company is trying to implement RPA, there should be a RPA framework, okay, like a process or a pipeline defined through which we generally going to work, or your RPA team is going to work. Because in RPA, it's not only one person or one team, it's a combination of roles, teams, and everything, okay? So what is the pipeline management processes? So you have a list of processes submitted by your business units or functions. Now you, as Bob asked earlier, so does business analyst identify processes or they just get involved at a certain layer of the process? Now, as I said, it's all up to how the business analyst role is defined in that specific organization. So the first thing that starts up with in the pipeline is list of processes submitted by business units / functions. That means whoever are the process guys or your operations team. So I think here business analyst plays a very important role. So they talk with the business guys and operations guys and try to identify the list of processes which are automation potential. And those processes being identified, let's say I identified 10 processes out of 30. Now these 10 processes need to be further evaluated or analyzed to come up with the top 5 projects or processes that are 100% automation potential. So how do I take those 10? So I've taken 10 out of 20 based on some criteria, let's say with the 4 basic thumb rule. Now this 10, I need to take them through some pipeline to understand whether these are giving me a good return or whether the investment that we are going to do to automate these processes are enough. So what we take this pipeline through is first is process analysis, then we're going to do an automation opportunity analysis, then we just do a business case and prioritization. So automation opportunity, that means how much percentage of this process is automatable? And that's a very, very vital question in RPA. So if you take an end-to-end process where I said you divide it into activities, and suppose you have 10 activities, some processes come up where 6 activities are automation potential or can be automated, whereas 5 activities are having human intervention requirement, cannot be automated. So that means your project is 60% automatable, 40% human intervention is required. End-to-end 100% is not automatable. So you have to identify and analyze this automation opportunity. Then we go and do a business use case analysis and prioritization. So if you have 10 processes, then based on your automation potentiality, we go and prioritize. So obviously processes that are 100% automation potential, we're going to prioritize them as higher priority, whereas potentiality with 60-40% automation potential, we're going to eventually mark them as low ranked priority. Then you have to go for COE approval. So when you have your processes ready, feasibility study ready, prioritization done, somebody who is your authority to approve all your projects to go for development has to approve, and then it goes for RPA development. Then where your real process of RPA starts, and then we go and finally have the automated process as the end product. So this is the entire pipeline management of RPA that we go through in terms of identifying processes for automation. Okay, and then this is going to be the next one where we're going to talk about the enterprise RPA governance and roles involved. So when we say about RPA framework or your governance body, okay, so this is how your RPA framework should be set up in your company or in the organization. And this is the industry standard, nothing for fixed format, just the best practice format. So you always have your executive steering committee. So RPA or automation concept or any technology change is always being triggered from a higher management side in an organization, probably from the CEOs, the CTOs, the CFOs, or the COOs. Okay, so how does your RPA governance looks like? So you have somebody in your company to have a RPA sponsor. Okay, then you have your head of RPA, and then you have, as I said, RPA is not only with one role, it's a combination of multiple expertise and people from different domains are involved. Okay, so your head of RPA, who would be the RPA lead or the head maintaining the governance, and then you have various roles. So you can see all these are different roles that are required in RPA. Infrastructure engineer, solution architect, RPA developer, lead developer, project managers, lead project managers, business analyst, lead business analyst, change manager, lead RPA supervisor, RPA supervisors, RPA service analyst, lead RPA service analyst. So these are various roles that are involved in the RPA governance platform. Or you can see that these would be the various roles where the companies are hiring when they hire for RPA. And what we are going to focus is here, which is lead business analyst or business analyst role. So I think someone had a question, where do we fit in? So into the entire RPA framework with multiple roles being there, this is where we fit in. So this course would allow you to fit into that portion where it's marked as red. So we're going to be either as a lead business analyst or a business analyst in the entire RPA governance platform that your organization would be having. This is where you could see yourself, being there once you kind of complete the training. So this is where, it lies in. So we focus mostly here on the entire infrastructure or the governing side or the roles involved side. Okay. And then the next one we have is RPA deliverables and ownership. So here we see that we have different phases of RPA. That means once we identify a process that, hey, this process is RPA automation potential. So from there, what we do is we go through various checkpoints. So any product that is developed goes through these checkpoints. So first you have to prepare RPA, then the process, the solution is need to be required, the solution designing, then we do a build solution designing, then the solution needs to be tested, stabilized, and then we go for continuous process improvement. So you could see that in all these various phases, wherever business analyst role is involved, I have marked them as red. So in the entire RPA journey of a project, starting from a project initiation to project development to project handover to the client, these are the multiple phases through which the project goes. And this is where the roles of RPA comes in. Business analyst comes in the entire different checkpoints. So in prepare RPA, business analyst role is at the second, where they're going to lean, review, and baselining. That means you are going to identify processes for automation potentiality. Then in the solution design phase, business analyst does two roles. They do PDD creation and sign off. They do create test scripts. In build RPA solution, they create PDD. For test solution, they record the test result. For stabilize RPA, they work on creating case studies and handover document. For consistent or continuous improvement of the process, they do process assessment. So this is where we're going to see in tomorrow's session, where we talk about roles and responsibilities of business analysts. So we're going to see each and every phase, where do we stand and what exactly we're going to do, and each and every phase of an RPA project. Okay. So with this, I think we are at the end of today's session. And as we said, at the end of session, we have an assignment given to everybody. So I'm going to share the slides to you along with the last slide for the assignment. So we have an assignment 1 for, which you guys can kind of complete in a day or 2, and probably not tomorrow, but yeah, we can take this assignment for an analysis by next class. So I think it's up to Bob how he decides. You guys can go ahead and submit it within a deadline, probably email it to me and Bob, or probably, we can take few of the assignment work, before we start this next session, and somebody can present and describe how they have done the assignment. And I think that would be a right approach. It would give you a confidence, and the others would kind of get an assessment or an understanding of the work that they have done with the difference of the work somebody else in the batch have done. So I think we have to be more interactive and more united in terms of completing this learning curve. So before I hand over to Bob, I just want to give you an explanation of the assignment 1. So the assignment is pretty simple. I don't want you guys to go and do something very deep. It's the first session. It's a very basic assignment which you can do through Google. Okay, so I want you guys to research on the top 3 RPA tools in the market, which I mentioned as Automation Anywhere, UiPath, and Blue Prism. So these are the 3 activities that you need to do. Identify the major differences between the top 3 RPA tools. So what are the differences of Automation Anywhere with UiPath, with Blue Prism? Okay, and trust me, these are like Google results you will have. So all you need to do is take out those points, create a document, and put down your point of view after analyzing the Google's review. Second task, perform an analysis on the review, growth, tool flexibility, and customer experience for the top 3 tools in the market. That means you have to make an analysis on Automation Anywhere, UiPath, and Blue Prism. And there is a reason why I have given this task. Now, when you are working as a business analyst, okay, and some companies, you might be hired or working for a company where they are working for RPA right from the scratch, and it's a transition. They don't have an RPA set up before. It's a very infant stage where they are started. Then what they do is they do a market analysis of which tool they want to buy. Okay, whether to buy AA, Automation Anywhere, or BP, which is Blue Prism, or UiPath. What they do is they take all these 3 tools into consideration and they do a POC. POC is nothing but proof of concept. And what is proof of concept? We take one project or one business problem of our company and give it to these 3 companies and say, hey, can you give a proof of concept that your tool is able to automate my project that I have in my company? That means then consultants from those companies would come, or what they do is they take those projects from me and they go and do an automation and show me a proof that their tool is able to automate my projects. So that is called as POC. And business analysts are deeply involved in projects where RPA is being at the infant stage and they start from the scratch. Okay, so their companies ask you to do an analysis on all these 3 companies and give your justification of choosing why you have chosen any of the 2. So that's why I've given this task 2, where you're going to do an analysis on all these 3 tools, not only these tools, but eventually on these 3 companies based on their growth, revenue, tool flexibility, and what is their customer experience. And you can make a document on all these 4 to 5 points. And the last one would be identify 2 challenges based on customer review for all the top 3 tools. So what are the 2 challenges that have customer faced on an enterprise level? So any customer of Automation Anywhere would have given 2 challenges that they have faced. Any customer of UiPath would have given challenges that they have faced. Any customer of Blue Prism, would have given some challenges they have faced. So list down 2 challenges for each of these top three tools, and as a part of your task 3. So this is what your comprises your assignment 1, which is very simple. This is to make you more accustomed with the RPA platform and let you know what's happening in the RPA across the globe. So I think, yeah, that's all with this. I want to conclude and hand over to Bob and open for any further questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much. That was really, really good. Now, as far as the assignment is concerned, everyone should submit the assignment on Friday, by Friday, end of the day. All right. So, Paul, you'll send us this. Just send me, and then I'll forward that to the rest of the team, and we'll get the feedback by Friday. All right. Any questions, please? Any questions?
We have a question.
Yes.
So during the training, are we gonna get a software to practice, or how is that gonna work?
There's the UiPath software. I think Paul can know that.
Oh yes, so what we're gonna do is we have so if you look into the course overview, okay, so we have a module where we're gonna talk mostly about not the technical, but about the UiPath tool and its components, how do the bots are being created, how the bots are being developed, okay? So yeah, we do, so in that phase, we're gonna talk about the tool, and there is an enterprise, there's a free trial version that is available for UiPath. So we're gonna see how do we download those softwares, how do we go ahead and use it. Yes, we're gonna cover that up as well.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you for that question. So anybody else with anything? All right, thank you everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Yep, perfect. Thanks everyone. See you sorry, there's a question.
There's a question?
Yeah, last question. Are you guys going to post tonight's session as a recording, or?
Sorry, can you raise your voice a little bit, please?
Yeah, are you going to post tonight's session as a recording, or where?
Yeah, all the sessions are recorded, yes. If you miss one, you can always watch it, but I would encourage everyone to attend the live classes.
So where are you going to put? Are you going to email it, or do we?
Yes, I'll send you the link.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks everyone, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.